want to welcome everybody to our first Q&A. We received 3 questions. If I could ask that people direct questions to all the presenters, not just me. And if the questions are directed to me are generic, I'll probably ask them to answer anyway. Okay, I'll try to read them. Number 1. I mentioned that not at this camp meeting. Early in this year, first quarter, I was in Australia, and I spoke about the word institutions. And I began to suggest, let me just read the question as it is. You mentioned that early in the year, 2024, in Australia, the word institution began to take a new meaning than that Elder Tess gave it. May you elaborate on that? Good. So, can someone remind us, maybe the questioner, I don't know, where did we begin to use this term institution in our movement? Anybody? Got to shout out. Acts 23. Oh, Acts 27. What year? 2018. So it's first popularised in 2018. By Elder Tess in her study of Acts 27. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah. So, I presume we're all aware that Ellen White speaks about institutions in her writings. If you type the word in, you can find a number of places where she speaks about it. So when Elder Tess speaks in Acts 27 of institutions, what is she referring to? What does she mean? Go ahead.
Talking about the church and the United States of the institutions.
So, Elder Tess. When she spoke of institutions, she was speaking about the SDA Church and the United States of America. That's what you said? Everybody agree with that? Okay. So, does everybody agree that that's a legitimate use of the word institution?
ngabe sonke siyavumelana ukuthi ukusebenzisa lelo gama sisebenzisa ngendlela efanele la.
I think it's reasonable. I think it's okay.
Ngicabanga ukuthi ngibona kufanele.
So I don't know if you have an offline dictionary. I don't. Can someone tell us what does institution mean? Maybe in their own words, or you can go to the dictionary. Tell me what institution means.
Masingabheka ichaza amazwi sibheke ukuthi le gama elithi institution lichaza ngempela i-dictionary.
Anyone have an idea? Go ahead, Tina.
Okay. I have about several definitions, but I'll use this one. It says it's a long-established and respected organization, particularly involved with education, public service, or charity work.
Okay, so it's an organisation often that's been around for a long time. Often that is, did it say popular or good or something, did you say?
It's particularly involved with education, public service, or charity work.
Okay, so it's often dealing with education,
Public service,
I'm going to call that social,
and then there's charity work.
charities.
Lijwayele ukusetshenziswa kakhulu nomsebenzi public nomsebenzi futhi wokuyinikela charity.
Anyone else? It's all good? Is that better? Any other definitions?
Khona eminye imibono.
Okay, we'll go with that then. So an institution is an organisation.
Institution ke ukuhlelela ukuqoqela organizations.
Is the United States an organisation?
Ngabe iMelika iyinhlangano.
Put your hands up if you think the United States is an organisation.
Ngicela phansi isandla ngicabanga ukuthi iAmerica iyinhlangano.
You think it is? Okay, anyone else? Put your hands up if you think it's not an organisation.
Ngicela phansi isandla ngicabanga ukuthi iAmerica iyinhlangano.
And put your hands up if you don't know what we're talking about. Milton, why is the United States not an institution?
America ingasiyo inhlangano.
I was of an idea that it's an organization of states because there's a group of states which organizes and they built one in the context of how that name is used by Ellen White institution.
I didn't understand what you said. Sorry.
I wasn't against the idea that America is an institution.
Oh, you're not against it? You put your hand up against?
I put up for it's an institution.
No, he didn't do that. He did?
I know what when you said would.
Oh, okay. Help us out.
I said, according to the definition, if you look at charities and social service, that framework to me does not fit America as a country.
Okay. You want to give us, in your definitions, you want to get America into that?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, we have to translate.
Ngokubuka kwami belithi iAmerica ayingeni kule ncazelo echaza i-organization inhlangano.
How does a country of 300 million people end up being an organisation?
Kwenzeka kanjani ukuthi izwe enabantu aba-300 million bese ligcina liyinhlangano?
Well, I will say the organization, it refers to the government because it does all three of it, the government of the United States. not really the people.
So you said that it's the government.
ngamanye amazwi uthi umbuso.
So we'll go back to Elder Tess. The institutions is not the United States then.
Futhi institution i-America isi-institution.
The United States is a country,
Yiso.
isn't it? You look.
Kanjani?
Yeah, so
South Africa isn't a government, it's a country.
iNingizimu ayisiyo uhulumeni, iyiso.
So we have to fix it.
Thathi kumele sikulungisele.
so I don't. But when we're saying that USA is not an organization, and then you said institution equals organization.
You said it was. You said an institution is an organisation. You told us that.
It was from the definition.
Kuvela kuwe lokho ukuthi institution inhlangano.
It's one. You offered that to us, the definition.
Usiphela kuvela kuwe.
And the USA is not an organisation.
I-America isinhlangano.
So the definition is wrong.
So the definition's wrong and Elder Tess is correct.
Kusho ukuthi incazelo iphambene kodwa ukudala utheze correct yena.
Okay, I'm not being funny, but you can't do that.
Angifuni nje ukuhlekisa kodwa
You can't make Elder Tess above a dictionary. Can you?
singeze sabeka
Okay, so we-
phezulu
can-
kwe-dictionary.
She has to be subservient to a dictionary.
Kwamele abe ngaphansi kwayo i-dictionary.
And then she tells you she's going to create her own language.
Uma ngenjalo yodine qalula ulimi
Okay, so let's fix the problem.
asikulungisele lokho.
Who wants to have a go?
Khona mhlawumbe ufisa ukuzama.
You either go to a different dictionary or you go and adjust what Elder Tess said.
Ngamele sithole esinye isichazamazwi noma sithathe lokho okushiwo umdala uThesa.
Can I try to say America is an institution in that maybe as the time went on, it lost the essence of itself being an institution, but initially it was an institution because it has been long established to offer services and to offer some charity because it was supposed to be a home for those who were running away from the persecution to find some safety.
So you said in the past the United States was an institution, but it's not anymore.
It might have lost its own institution.
Uthe i-America yake yaba institution kodwa ukuhamba kwesikhathi yalahlekelwa ukuba institution.
According to Elder Tess, it happens at the Sunday law, not in the past.
Ngokuya komdala uThesa uthi kwenzeka lokho kwi-Sunday law akwenzeki emlandweni.
According to Elder Tess, it was an institution up until July 18th.
Kusho ukuthi ngokuya kwamdala uThesa ibilokhu i-institution kuze kube umhlaka 18 July.
Okay? Yep. Anyone else?
Akukhona umuntu.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think the member is correct to say America is an institution.
Sorry, you're saying that it's correct to call America an institution?
Yes. Even in this very present moment, at this very present.
Okay.
Why? Because there's another definition I'm seeing here, where there is institution is an establishment.
It's so an institution is an establishment.
Yeah.
And what does an establishment mean?
It's that which is appointed or prescribed or founded upon authority.
Say that again.
It is an establishment which is appointed or prescribed or founded by authority.
Okay, so we'll stop there. We'll stop there. An institution is an organisation or an establishment, because they're the same word,
An establishment,
that was created
appointed or prescribed or founded
by?
the authority.
Okay, so an institution is an establishment appointed by someone.
I-institution ke ukusungulwa okuqanjwe othile.
In authority.
Yes.
Okay,
Igunya elithile.
so is the person in authority the establishment, or is the person in authority outside of the establishment and they're creating it? According to what you just said. Did you translate that? Oh, 1 second. Repeat. I'll have to repeat my question. In your definition, you said establishment.
Kuyincazelo yakho uthe ukusungulwa.
I don't want to have an issue about it, but I think establishment means the same thing as organisation.
Angiphikisani nakho kodwa ngicabanga ukuthi ukusungulwa kuyafana nenhlangano.
But your definition was useful because it gave good information.
Kodwa incazelo yakho iyasebenzela ngokunikeza incazelo
You used the word appointed, I think. Appointed. So I just used the word created. I think it means the same.
igama elifanayo ukuthi isunguliwe noma iqanjiwe.
It's appointed. Let me finish for this translation. It's appointed by someone who is in authority.
Iqanjwe umuntu othile onegunya.
Do you agree with that?
Yes. And it doesn't just end there. It is
I just want to get to that point first. I'll let you finish. I'll let you where it does end. Just want to go with that bit first. I'm just going to get to that bit first. I don't want to carry on.
Sizoqala silungise lokho bese siyaqhubeka.
My question is the person in authority separate and distinct to the establishment?
Umbuzo wami uthi lo muntu lo onegunya ngabe yena uhlukile kulokusungula noma i-establishment.
Or is the person in authority the establishment?
Noma igunya lakhe leli liyiyo i-establishment.
Anyone can answer if you want.
Nanoma na nikeza umbono.
Hopefully you will understand my question.
Ngiyathemba ukuthi siyawuzwa lo mbuzo.
Is the person in authority who created the establishment outside of the establishment?
Ngabe lo muntu osungule i-establishment une-authority noma engaphandle kwe-establishment?
Milton? Just one word answer. Yes or no?
Impendulo nje eyodwa.
Yes.
No, the answer is no.
Impendulo ithi cha.
In the past eras,
Esikhathini esidlulile
before time began,
ngaphambi kwesikhathi siqala
did the person in authority exist?
igunya laloyo muntu ngabe bese likhona vele.
Yes. They existed before creation.
Bese ivele likhona.
And they created an establishment.
Base besungula i-establishment.
So the person can't be the establishment.
So lo muntu angeke abe i-establishment.
The person is the creator of the establishment,
Lo muntu umsunguli we-establishment.
which means they're above them.
Okusho ukuthi ke ungaphezulu vele.
We good with that? So, if the United States is the establishment,
Uma ke i-America establishment,
the organization,
inhlangano,
the institution,
iphinde ibe institution.
so this is the USA,
I-America le
what do you need?
udingani
According to the definition we've just got.
ngokwencazelo le esiyibheka.
You need someone above the USA
Udinga umuntu ongaphezulu kwe-America
to create the USA.
ozosungula i-America.
And the last time we all checked,
Masibheka ngesikhathi esinduli
in 1776,
ngalo mnyaka obalile
the Americans said what?
yathini i-America
We'll create ourselves.
yathi sizoyidala siyisungule thina.
So the definition that we've currently got
Incazelo le esiyinayo manje
doesn't allow the USA to be an establishment, just by the definition.
ayivumeli ukuthi i-America ibe establishment.
Please carry on.
the last part of it, the definition is that this establishment is in intended to be permanent.
So the establishment must be permanent.
Le lokusungula lokufanele kube ukuqhubekayo kwaphakade.
Okay, that's fine. So, are we okay that, according to these dictionary definitions, the USA cannot be an institution?
Siyahambisana yini nale ncazelo ukuthi i-America ngeke ibe i-institution.
You agree? You agree? Why don't you agree?
Siyavumelana, why singavumelani masingavumelani?
I agree.
You're looking stressed. Okay. Russell's looking happy. You're looking worried. We all agree. Elder Tess can't make mistakes, so we have to go back and see what the problem is. So let's fix it then. Go, Justina, fix it. You can't fix it? Russell? Corbus?
I'll take a chance. When we say USA, she's meaning a part or something of or in the USA. She did not mention USA. As we usually talk about the two horns, we used to refer as
Church and state.
yeah, church and state. So that breaks down the word USA, meaning I see it when she says institution. She is defining something within the USA, but not the USA itself.
Okay, so I'll try and summarize that. When Elder Tess said USA, she did not mean the United States of America. She meant something within it. Someone in authority. They must have been the creators of the United States. And what they did was they created establishments, organizations, institutions to run America. You okay with that? So it's not the USA then? So you can't do this, what I'm doing. It's the institutions of the USA. Because that ends up being a tautology. You can't do that. SDA Church. What are we saying about that? Milton, SDA Church?
Before we go to SDA
Oh.
Church, I see there are a couple of quotes why they said the purpose is an institution. So with your definition, which there must be either a king or someone of authority, we usually juxtapose USA and the purpose. So can that not help us to understand what is an institution in that sense? Because I think the purpose can fit the definition. And when we juxtapose, can it not help us to understand?
It could do. But I'm not going to go there because I don't have the quotes in front of me. So I'm going to skip out of that one. Justina, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to read the definition. Another one. It says significant practice, relationship, or organization in a society or culture, such as institutional marriage. So is it the same as how we talked about the USA, that it creates institutions such as, I'll just say marriage, or an institution with a certain practice? Is that what they say?
So what that definition said was that it's a practice that exists in a particular culture or a particular society.
leyo ncazelo ikhuluma ngokuthi into eyenziwayo kwisizwe esinamasiko athile.
And that definition is different to the ones we have here.
leyo ncazelo ihlukile kuloko esinako la.
So that one says the institution of marriage.
leyo ikhuluma ngokuthi i-institution yomshado.
Okay, so let's just summarize what we've said so far.
asike sifike konke sesikhulume ngakho.
Elder Tess is going to say at the Sunday law,
umdala utheze uzobe sethi-ke
some
i-Sunday law
some kind of organization
inhlangano ethile
or establishment
noma i-establishment
within two entities,
kuyinhlangano ezimbili
the SDA Church and the United States,
amasabatha kanye ne-America
that were appointed to serve those entities
aqokelwa ukuthi asebenzele lezo zinhlangano ezimbili
and have a property of being permanent
banomkhuba wokuthi babe khona njalo njalo
become shipwrecked.
bese bayahlakazeka noma ukuhlakazeka.
So if they were meant to be permanent, when we talk about shipwreck, does that mean they don't exist?
uma sikhuluma ukuthi bayahlakazeka noma bakhona njalo njalo yokuchaza ukuthi basekhona
So they still exist.
basekhona.
And if you look at the definitions that we've got on this side,
uma sibuka incazelo esinayo
let's use one word to define all of that.
asike senze igama elilodwa ukuchaza konke lokho.
They're set up for what purpose?
basungulelwa yiphi injongo.
These establishments, these organizations, what are they set up to do?
leyinhlangano zasungulelwa yiphi injongo.
I think you said main client.
I didn't catch the word, sorry.
You said main client.
To save humanity.
Ukusebenzela isintu.
Okay? So we'll put to save, and I'm just going to put good.
noma ukusindisa isintu.
They were set up to do good things.
basungulelwa ukwenza okuhle.
So what does shipwreck mean?
kuchaza ukuthini ukuhlakazeka.
Either they no longer exist,
kungenzeka ukuthi abasekho nokubabikho
or
noma
they,
No longer do that service or that thing they were set up to do.
or they no longer do the work that they were designed to do, which was good,
noma basawenza umsebenzi ababesungulelwe wona okuwukwenza okuhle.
which means they're now going to do bad.
okusho ukuthi bazokwenza okubi.
We might call that they've now been hijacked, perhaps we could say that.
bathunjiwe empeleni.
Are we okay with the model that we've discussed about Elder Tess's study?
Ngabe siyahambisana konke lokhu sikhulumile ngakho lathesi.
Both these entities will exist.
zombili ley'nhlangano zoba khona.
There's elements within them, we'll call it an organization or a structure that was designed, created to do good.
kukhona okuthile phakathi kwabo iy'nhlangano ezayibekelwe injongo yokuthi zenze kahle noma okuhle.
And at the Sunday law, those permanent structures or organizations or establishments
kwi-Sunday law lezo iy'nhlangano lezo ekumele iqhubeke njalo njalo.
instead of doing good, now they do bad.
kusho ukuthi ayisakhona ukwenza okuhle sezenza okubi manje.
And so, according to the Bible,
ngokwebhayibheli ke
referring to the United States,
sikhuluma nge-America.
the lamb speaks as a dragon.
isile ezinjengewumbu sikhuluma njengodrago.
Are we all okay with that?
sihambisana lokho.
So, some examples of institutions of the United States.
imizekelo nje yaley'nhlangano zase-America.
I guess we're all familiar with the three branches.
Ngicabanga ukuthi sonke siyaqonda ngale inhlaka ezintathu zikahulumeni.
The executive branch,
Executive,
the legislative branch,
kube iParliament, legislative,
and the judicial branch.
bese kuba ezeyinkantolo judicial.
Executive is what?
Executive ngabe iyiphi le?
President.
Ileyo mongameli,
The White House.
i-White House ke.
The legislative.
I-legislative,
The House.
the House there.
Upper and lower. Upper and lower? Upper house, lower house?
Oh, okay. Khona indlu le phezulu House.
Congress, Senate.
Bese kuba i-Congress and the Senate.
And the judiciary
Bese kuba ezeyinkantolo,
are the courts.
judiciary inkantolo.
So all three are supposed to be separate and independent of each other.
Omathathu ley'nhlangano kumele zihlukane futhi kungabi bikho esebenzisana elunika kwenye.
The biggest one, the most complicated one, is the executive branch.
Enkulu futhi engcubevanga kuzo zonke ile president.
So where does the military fall? 1, 2 or 3?
So le ezombutho wezempi ingena kuphi kule nhlangano zontathu.
I think Erica said 1. Was it 1? Yes. Education.
Ingena lapha uwani amasotsha.
1. Health. 1. Transportation.
Ezokuthutha,
Food safety.
ezokudla, one food.
Everything comes under 1.
Kusho ukuthi bonke singena lapha kumongameli.
Anything that you can think of to run a government all comes under 1.
Noma ngicabanga kuphi kufanele nohulumeni ungena ngaphansi kwa-one.
So if they're going to go shipwreck,
Manje ezohlakazeka,
which ones go shipwreck?
kuphi okuzohlakazeka lapha kulama branch?
Remember the criteria is they're still going to exist, but now they're going to be used for a different purpose.
Khumbula ukuthi bazobelokhu beqhubeke njalo kodwa injongo yabo ukuze sihlukile kunalela besindebele.
Which one goes from good to bad?
Yiphi lesuka kokuhle iye kokubi?
Number 1? Someone said? Yes, we got number 1, tick. Anything else? Number 3
Lesithathu
and number 2.
nayo le yesibili.
So, why were people struggling with number 2?
Kukhona abantu ngathi bayadontsisana no-number 2.
Don't we use a term that this is Trump's Republican Party now?
Asisho yini ukuthi le party le Republican ekaTrump phela.
The old guard has been taken out, replaced.
Kusho ukuthi umbuso omdala ususiwe wafakwa omusha.
Isn't that what July 15 to 18 was all about?
Akusiko lokho esikhuluma ngakho 18 July.
And even though that wasn't Congress,
Nakuba lokho kwakuyi-Congress,
all of the people in the House are there
bonke laba bakwi-House bakhona lapho
reinventing themselves.
bayazivuselela beza sebebasha.
So you will have all heard or read articles
Ngicabanga ukuthi sesifundile iqeshana neyicaphuna
that say the House was created to serve what?
bathi indlu yasungulelwa umsebenzi.
Sorry? It was created to do what?
I-House ngabe yasungulelwa umsebenzi.
Government by the people, for the people,
Ongabantu
of the people.
futhi owabantu.
So the House was created to serve the people.
I-House ngeyayisungulelwe ukuthi isebenze nabantu.
And now we can already begin to see
Siyaqala siyabona ke manje
Their purpose is to serve the president.
ukuthi injongo sekuwukusebenzela umongameli.
All good? Is the Supreme Court serving number one? Is number three serving number one?
Inkantolo isebenzela umongameli.
Hands up if you think yes.
Phakathi isandla uma ucabanga kanjalo.
Put your hands up if you think no.
Phakathi isandla uma ucabanga kunjalo.
I don't think it is.
Angicabangi ukuthi kanjalo.
I think they're following all the rules they're supposed to follow.
Ngicabanga ukuba balandela yonke imithetho okumele bayilandele.
They just got a particular group of judges at a certain time in history all together at the same time.
Babese nje baba namajaji athile emlandweni ngesikhathi esisodwa.
And their objectives or their worldview align with number one.
Uthola ukuthi indlela ababuka ngayo izinto bese ihambisana nomongameli okuwuhamba.
Those 6 judges aren't kissing Trump's ring.
Lawa majaji akusiyo ukuthi avumelana naye uTrump wonke.
It's not in my opinion. Could be wrong.
Kodwa-ke umbono wami.
Okay, we're not going to discuss the SDA Church, but we could still go to that organisation.
Ngeke sikhulume namasabatha kodwa singaya nawo.
The office of the conference president was created for a purpose.
I-ofisi ke lela likamongameli uTed lasungulelwa into ethile.
The education department in the church, all the various establishments
Kunama-department amaningi ke laphayana kwi-conference.
publishing work.
Khona lezi ezokubhala iy'ncwadi.
We could see how they are, whenever that happens or how it's happened or how it would happen, they will or are already shipwrecked.
Siyabona indlela okwenzeka ngayo ukuthi vele sekuhlakazekile.
Hopefully we're all okay with that.
Ngiyathemba ukuthi sonke siyahambisana kulokho.
So I can't remember the point I was making in January.
Angisakhumbuli kahle ukuthi liphi iphuzu elengithe kwalo ngoJanuwari.
But I said something like this.
Kodwa ngike nasho into efana nayo.
What keeps this movement safe
Okwenza le movement iphephe
is its institutions.
inhlangano zayo.
At that level, is that in agreement with everything we've just seen now? All the definitions, they all work, yes?
Lapho kule level lapho siyavumelana ngakho konke ngencazelo yalokho.
So the question is, what institutions was I referring to back in January?
Umbuzo uthi imaphi lama institution noma le inhlangano ebengikhuluma ngazo ngoJanuwari.
Because it wasn't the office of eldership.
Ngoba akusiyo ukudala.
And we don't have an education department or a treasury department. We don't have global ones.
Futhi asinawo umnyango wezemfundo nowezeyimali even umhlaba wonke nje.
So when I refer to institutions, back at that study which the person is asking me about,
Ngakho-ke engangikhuluma ngakho phakathi ngikhuluma ngama-institutions kulesa sifundo esasikhuluma ngakho phakathi ngikhuluma ngaso.
I said the definition I gave for institution is rules and laws.
Incazelo engayinika imithetho nemigomo.
And I think I went to sources to show they are legitimate definitions for institutions.
Ngaya kuma-sources athile-ke ngakuveza ukuthi kuney'ncazelo ey'hlukene ngalama-institutions.
So I haven't developed that study since then.
Angasikhulisile leso sifundo.
So an example would be what?
Umzekelo kungaba yini mhlawumbe?
Rules and laws
Umthetho nemigomo.
that will keep us safe,
Yiyo ezosigcina siphephile.
which are not organizations or departments or establishments.
Amasizo, iy'nhlangano nama-establishments.
Baptism drums.
Baptismal vows?
Iy'fumo zombhapatiso.
Okay? So I'm just going to say simply,
Ngizokubeka nje ngokusobala.
the law of equality.
umthetho wokulingana.
So if we remain true to the law of equality, and it is a law,
Uma siba neqiniso nje kulo mthetho wokulingana,
we might call it the golden rule,
singawubiza ngokuthi iwona wona mthetho womongwe.
then this movement will be safe.
Kusho ukuthi le movement izophepha.
It's not some department or organization or establishment that we set up.
Asiyumnyango othile noma i-establishment ethile siyisungulayo.
It's a belief or an ideology.
Inkolelo noma inkolo ethile.
So that's the definition I gave back in January.
Ile incazelo engayinika ngoJanuwari.
And I'm suggesting it's legitimate.
Nginokuthi ke iyona incazelo eyiyo.
According to the definition of the word.
Ngokwencazelo yale gama.
And the reason I wanted to discuss that
Isizathu esenza ukuthi ngifisa ukukhuluma ngalokho
is because this movement is not highly regulated or organized.
ingoba le movement lena ayikholwa ngokuthi inhlangano.
And we don't have what we would consider the regular institutions.
Asinazo le inhlangano noma institutions lajwayelekile.
So the thing that keeps us together, safe if you like, on the right side,
Okusigcina sindawonye futhi siphephile ohlangothini oluyilo
is the law that we obey.
umthetho lo esiwulalelayo.
So we've said baptismal vows,
Sithethe ifungo zombhabhatiso.
but I've just said that the law of equality or the golden rule.
Kodwa ngiphinde ngafakela ukuthi kuba umthetho wokulingana okuyiwona wona.
Everything should come from that high level statement,
Bonke okunye fanele
should fit underneath it, sorry.
kuphume lapho.
That's what I tried to teach in January.
Yilokho engangizama ukufundisa ngakho.
The more we stray away from this idea, the more mistakes we'll make.
Uma silokhu sisuka kakhulu kulokho.
Good, hopefully. Any questions on that?
Khona umbuzo mayelana nalokho.
Question 2.
Umbuzo wesibili.
My question is, I'll give it to you at the end. My question is, how do we... Maybe you can read it. Identify?
Yes.
Oh. How do we identify angels, as you mentioned that Elder Terry is not an angel, okay, as she related the son-in-law message, and amongst elders who came with the message, who do we identify others as angels? I'm not sure I fully understand the question. Whose question is it? Did I...
Angikholwa ukuthi ngiyawuzwa kahle lo mbuzo. Ukhona mhlawumbe owubuzile la awuchaza kangcono.
Oh, thank you. Maybe you could just shout out what your question is, because I don't fully understand it. I get the gist.
Ukhulume sibuze umbuzo ukuthi uthini.
Based on the study you're doing in the morning, I got a bit confused regarding what classifies people or leaders as angels. Because then you later said Elder Terry is an angel.
Okay, I think I understand your question. If I don't answer it, let me know.
Umbuzo uthi sibona kanjani ukuthi ingelosi le yini eyenza ukuthi sikhombe njengengelosi loyo muntu. Ngoba ngesikhathi sika Elder Terry uthi akasingelosi.
Our organisation isn't very big.
Inhlangano lena inkulu kakhulu.
If you look at the various levels, it's quite a shallow organisation. It's only 2 or 3 levels high.
Uma uyibuka nje ayinkulu kakhulu inama-level ambalwa.
I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying it's wrong either.
Angisho ukuthi i-right noma i-wrong.
But up to this moment in time,
kodwa kuze kufike lesikhathi esikuso njengamanje
those people who have been identified as having, we'll say, the message,
labo bantu asebeqokiwe njengabantu esingathi nomlayezo othile
have ended up being in positions of leadership.
bagcine bekhuphuka bengena kuyihlalo zokuhola.
I'm not saying that's correct to do that, but that's what's happened.
Angisho ukuthi indlela leyo kumele khanjwe ngayo kodwa yilo okwenzekile.
We have another organizational model,
Sinenye indlela futhi esingayibuka yokuhlelela
which I've discussed extensively in the past,
engikhulume ngayo kakhulu esikhathini esindlule.
and I'm saying that it should. I'm not saying that it always is, but it should. I'll finish the sentence.
Ngisho ukuthi ifanele, angisho ukuthi njalo kodwa ifanele.
It should be based upon capability.
Ifanele ibe ihambe phela ukuthi uyakhona ukwazi ukwenza lokho.
So we should have capable people in leadership positions.
Kwamele sibe nabantu abawufanele lo msebenzi abakwazi ukwenza.
Now, even there, we can get into problems
Nalapho futhi singadibana nempikisano.
because what we've tended to do is appoint good teachers and make them leaders.
Ngoba sikwenzile sithathe othisha abafundisa kahle sase sibenza abaholi.
Which is very similar to what we do with angels.
Okufanayo ke nesikwenza ngeengelosi.
Angel has, we'll call it the good message, and they end up becoming leaders.
Iingelosi zigcina zinomlayezo omuhle bese igcina zingabaholi.
A good teacher ends up becoming a leader.
Uthisha ofundisa kahle ugcina engumholi.
So I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying it's wrong.
Angisho ukuthi lokho ku-right noma ku-wrong.
But each of us can see that there are problems doing that. Hopefully you can see that.
Siyayibona inselelo ke kulokho ukuthi injalo.
We have good teachers who are not good administrators helping to run the movement.
Sinothisha kodwa abangekho kahle kwi-administration ukuhlela i-movement.
We have good administrators
Sinabakhonayo ukuhlela kahle
who don't understand the message and are making decisions for this movement.
kodwa abangaqondi umlayezo futhi abangakhona ukuthatha iy'nqumo kule movement.
And surely that will cause problems.
Lokho futhi bese kuletha inselelo futhi.
Everything that I've stated so far, I'm asking the question, does that make sense so far?
Konke ngikushilo ngabe kuyawenza umqondo. Siyabuza.
Yes? I know it hasn't answered your question yet. I'm asking, does that make sense so far?
Ngiyazi abaphenduleki umbuzo wakho ngibuza nje ukuthi kuyezwakala umbuzo kube manje.
So we have two parallel structures that merge together.
Sinama-structures awu-2 ahambisanayo.
Elder Tabo is a good teacher.
Umdala uThabo umfundisi omuhle.
We won't take time and chance into our discussion, but just say that he was a good teacher.
Kodwa ngeke siphikisane nalo kodwa sothi nje ufundisa kahle, uthisha ofundisa kahle.
Elder Jeff saw his capability
Umdala uJeff wabona ukuthi unako lokuthi akhona ukufundisa kahle.
developed a trust in him,
Wase emethemba.
and said, I would like you to oversee the work in this part of the world.
Wasethi ngiyacela ukuthi ubheke lo msebenzi kule ngxenye yomhlaba.
And maybe Elder Tabo had administrative skills, maybe he didn't.
Kungenzeka ukuthi umdala uThabo wayenawo ikhono lokuhlela noma ukwenza administration noma wayengenalo.
I don't know what additional criteria Elder Jeff used to select him.
Angazi ukuthi usebenzise luphi uhlolovo ukwenza Jeff ukuthi aze amqoke njengomuntu okumele ahole.
What I do know is,
Kodwa engikwazile
if Elder Tabo wasn't a good teacher, he would never have been chosen.
kodwa kube umdala uThabo benesiyo umfundisi ofundisa kahle bengekaze aqoke.
And you can go, I only gave that as an example, but you can go to many other leaders in the movement.
Ngibike lokho njengomzekelo kodwa ngiyabo abaningi abafundisi kwi-movement.
And you can question yourselves and us whether you think that's the right way to do things.
ungazibuza nawe uphinde ubuze nathi ukuthi ngabe iyona ndlela yokwenza izinto leyo.
So he was made a leader
Ukwenziwa-ke umholi
not because he had a message, only because he could teach well.
akusikho ukuthi ngoba wayephethe umlayezo othile kodwa yingoba wayekhona ukufundisa kahle.
Elder Tess was made a leader
Umdala uTheze wenziwa umholi naye futhi
because she had, we'll call it the midnight cry message.
ngoba wayephethe umlayezo wokukhala wasebusuku.
So that was her ticket to become a leader in the movement.
Yikona okwamenza ukuthi agcine umholi kwi-movement.
No one questioned whether or not she had administrative skills
Akekho owaba nongabazali ngayo ukuthi ngabe unawo nama ikhono lokuba kwi-administration
or whether she was a people person,
noma uwumuntu wabantu
that she knew how to treat people nicely.
bekwazi ukuphatha abantu kahle.
So my point is,
Iphuzu lami leli-ke
in this movement, people have become leaders because of the message, not because of other skills that they possess.
kule movement la abantu baba abaholi ngenxa yomlayezo awuphethe hhayi ngenxa yamakhono abanawo.
And either it's because they have been the custodian of what we call the message, which has changed over time,
Okungenzeka ukuthi ngoba baphathiswe umlayezo othile bese uyashintsha futhi ukuhamba kwesikhathi
or they're just a good teacher.
noma ingoba nje bafundisa kahle.
And coming to Elder Terry,
Uma sifika-ke kumdala uTheri
she was made an elder, she was made a leader.
wenziwa umdala waphinde wenziwa umholi.
I'm making the story quite simplistic, it's a bit more complicated.
Ngifisa ukwenza lokhu kube lula kodwa kuthe ukujula kunalo esibhekayo
Because she's a competent teacher,
ngoba uyakwazi ukufundisa ngempela.
not because she had the message.
Akusikona ukuthi ngoba ephethe umlayezo
That's all I was trying to say this morning.
yilokho bengizama nje ukwenza.
She's not an angel.
Akasiyona ingelosi.
She's never stood up and defined some message
Akakaze asukume bese alethe umlayezo othile awuchaza njengomlayezo wengelosi.
and then being identified as one of the angels.
And masefisa ukuthi bese aqoba njengenye yey'ngelosi.
Was that your question?
Ngabe kulomuzwa wakho?
Great. Question number 3.
Umbuzo wesithathu.
In the first presentation, it was mentioned the responsibility of the first angel. One of them was that the first angel protects the message. So when I think they rejected the message of 2012 prediction about the Sunday law, 2014, if heard properly in the morning, I heard that they protected the people. So my question or my concern is, I want to understand that the first angel protects people from other messages they assume may destroy people. Hopefully I've read that out correctly. I'll try and summarise it in a minute.
Isifundo sasekuseni kube kwabalula ukuthi kuwe umsebenzi wengelosi yokuqala ukuvikela imessage. Uma bese yawunqaba umlayezo lo njenge-prediction ka-2012 yeSunday law 2014, uma ngizwe kahle ekuseni ngizwe ngathi bavikela abantu. So umbuzo wami uthi engifisa ukuqonda ukuthi ingelosi yokuqala ivikela abantu ibavikela kumlayezo okucatshanga ukuthi mhlawumbe bazowulimaza umlayezo lo noma bazowutolika kabi.
I hope you don't mind me asking, whose question is this? So maybe if you could just summarise it for us.
Was asking from the first presentation, the one that we did in the elder.
So we're discussing this morning's presentation.
mentioned the responsibilities of the first angel. And among the responsibilities that have been mentioned, there was one to say the first angel protects the message.
Eminye imisebenzi esibalulekile eseni yengelosi yokuqala ukuthi uvikele umlayezo.
So I'm just going to repeat what she said. You've already done it. So part of the responsibility or the role of the first angel is to protect the message, which then ends up being protecting the flock. I said that? Or people said that? It was said.
So when we spoke about 2012, to say that when I mentioned they, I mean the first angel, they rejected the message of about the prediction, 2014 prediction. So if I heard correctly to say like they rejected the message and it was like sort of protecting the people. So like I don't know how does that work, because from my thinking I was thinking that okay, I didn't quite get how do they protect the people by rejecting the message which they assume that it will destroy the people, like the flow.
So when you said you don't fully understand, in your explanation of the logic, I think you answer your own question. Whether it's the first, second or third, this angel has a responsibility to give the message. I'll say three, to develop the message and to protect it. Stop somebody taking that message and using it for a different purpose. And when someone hijacks the message, often it's very subtle that people can't see it happening. So I avoided going into scripture this morning, talking about the shepherd, the sheep, and the wolves. In that scenario, who is the shepherd? The angel. And the sheep is you. And the wolf is me. And it says in the verse, the sheep know the voice of the shepherd. And what other voices will they listen to? None. They won't listen to any other voice except that of the shepherd. So when people say Elder Jeff was in apostasy, rejected messages, or they would have been undercover agents listening to wolves, we have to be careful about bravado or thinking that we are clever when we end up doing things which are not scriptural. Everybody is required to follow the shepherd, which in this context was Elder Jeff.
ukuba umdala uJeff lo.
You should not have listened to this message.
Bekungafanele ukuthi ulalele lo mlayezo.
And I think those people who say, sure we should have because it ended up being all correct,
Kodwa lawo bantu abathi bekufanele ngoba bengagcina ese correct
are using hindsight.
basebenzisa inhlonipho okuthile.
And I think I asked the question, but if I didn't, I will ask it tomorrow, but I'm going to ask it now.
Ngicabanga ukuthi ngizobuza umbuzo othile noma ngenzela ukuthi ngibuze kusasa futhi.
Was it reasonable for Elder Jeff not to identify that person as the second angel in 2012?
Kwakwenza umqondo ukuthi umdala uJeff aqokelwe umuntu njengengelosi yesibili ngo-2012.
Was it reasonable that he said, I don't know who this person is, it's not an angel?
Kwakuyenza ingqondo lokho ukuthi athi angimazi lo muntu akasingelosi yesibili.
Because there seem to be people here who had sympathy with that messenger.
Kubuya ngathi kunabantu abanokuzwelana nale ngelosi noma lo lesithunywa.
Like Elder Jeff was dumb
Kwengathi umdala uJeff bengaqondi
or prejudiced
noma benocwaso okuthile
or breaking some rules,
noma ephula imithetho ethile.
and that you would have been wiser than him.
Mhlawumbe kungenzeka ukuthi kube nokuhlakanipha okungaphe kwakhe umdala uJeff.
Because we all know what happens to sheep who think they are clever,
Ngoba siyazi ukuthi kwenzakalani kwizimvu ezawa ihlakaniphile.
cleverer than the shepherd.
Zihlakaniphe ukudlula umalusi.
He either has to rescue them or they die,
Zidinga ukusindiswa noma ziyafa.
but they leave the flock.
But bese ziyushiya umhlaba.
So that was the point I was trying to make about Elder Jeff. I didn't say it as strongly this morning.
Yilo iphuzu ebengizama ukulenza ngomdala uJeff kodwa ngizama ngisho ngamanje ekuseni.
So you can begin to see that that situation, we'll say 12 years ago, was a life and death matter.
Siyaqala ukubona ukuthi lokho kwenzekile kule minyaka endlule empeleni kuphele nokufa nokuphila.
Now, in any story, there are complexities.
Kulolu daba-ke kukhona okunzima ngalo.
There's always a human element.
Kuhlale kunogcobo lomuntu.
And besides love, what's one of the driving elements of human beings?
Ngalo kuthando yini bese iqhuba-ke lokhu ngabantu.
What emotion is one that always comes to the forefront?
Imuphi umuzwa njalo ohlala phambili kulokhu.
And we'll leave love aside.
Sizobeka eceleni lokho.
Go back to America, go back to their foundational documents.
Asibuyele eMelika siye kuma-documents isekelo sama-documents abo.
Erica said self-preservation.
U-Erica uthe ukuzigcina.
What's your inalienable right?
Iliphi ilungelo elingafanele ukuthi lithathwe kuwe?
Inalienable means God-given.
Kusho ukuthi leli lungelo linikwe nguNkulunkulu.
Life,
Ukuphila,
liberty,
inkululeko,
and grabbing as many things that you can grab hold of.
noma ungabe usiqophise into ey'ngakanani emhlabeni kujabule.
And keeping them.
Uyigcine futhi.
And what emotion is that?
Imuphi umuzwa osebenza lapho?
Selfishness and jealousy.
Ukuyicabangela wena futhi kanye nomhobho.
So you know, in the story of 2012,
So uyazi ukuthi kulolu daba ngo-2012
there isn't much love in this movement,
bekungekho uthando olungaka kule movement.
but there's a whole heap of jealousy.
But kuney'ndaba zomhobho.
So there's another story about all the jealousy that's going on back then.
Kunedaba-ke olwenzakalayo masibuyele emumva ngomhobho.
And there's a clear story that that person was treated unjustly.
Kunokucathana okusobala ukuthi lowo muntu akaphathwanga kahle.
And I'll say because of jealousy.
And konke lokhu kungenxa yomhobho.
But that's not what we are supposed to be doing.
akusinto ekumele ngabe siyithola siduyo leyo.
Our responsibility is not to know who's jealous and who's loving.
Umsebenzi wethu asikwazi ukuthi ubani onomona ubani onothando.
It's to hold on to the truth
Ukubambelela eqinisweni
and grab as many things as we can
bese siqoqa izinto eziningi esingakhona ukuyiqoqa.
to be happy.
Bese sijabula.
So I can only discuss the theological or the doctrinal aspects of this subject.
Singaxoxa phela ngezifundo noma ngokufundisa balesihloko.
Because no one can read the heart of somebody,
Ngoba akekho ongafunda inhliziyo yomunye umuntu.
which is something people have misunderstood about the wheat and tares.
Ekuyinto abaningi abangayiqondanga ngalesi sihloko samabele kanye nokhula.
Whatever my motivation was in 2012 is irrelevant.
Nanoma yikuphi okwakungquba ngo-2012.
I want to become
Akunandaba.
I want to become famous. I want to hijack the movement. I want to become a leader.
Noma kwakukuba mhlawumbe ngifuna ukuduma, ngifuna ukuba umholi, ngifuna ukuyitha le movement.
Or I'm the most humble person in the movement and I've been mistreated.
Noma ngumuntu othobekile kakhulu ngidlula konke ngiphathwe ngendlela engafanele.
And Elder Jeff was mean.
Umdali Jeff ubekwaye
We can't base any conclusions or decisions on that human story.
ngeke ke sibe nokuphetha sibuka lokho kuphela kuleso story somuntu.
And if you can't do it then, you can't do it now.
Uma ungakhona ukwenza ngalesa sikhathi ngeke ukhone ukwenza manje.
So when we talk about 2024,
Uma sikhuluma ngo-2024
we have to think about theology and doctrine.
kwamele sikhulume ngeyimfundiso.
And that's why we went back to the 2014 story.
Ingakho sibuyele ekudabeni lango-2014
So we could see some parallels.
ukuze sobona ukuqondana nokuhambisana.
In 2012, you got 3 elements.
Ngo-2012 kunezinto ey'ntathu.
What are the 3 things you have?
Iziphi lezinto esiy'tholayo ey'ntathu?
You've got an angel,
Nengelosi,
so I'll give you that one. Then you've got a message,
bese kuba umlayezo,
an outside private message,
bese umlayezo ophuma ngaphandle kuthiwa yimfihlo,
and a messenger.
bese kuba yisithunywa salowo mlayezo.
Got those 3 elements then.
Sinalezo zinto zontathu.
Will you have the same 3 elements now?
Ngabe sinawo ukuthathu lokho njengamanje?
Yes.
Kunjalo.
Despite the fact that we've had several Sunday laws, you've got 14, the other one, 19, 21.
Ngaphandle nje ukuthi sibe nama-Sunday laws ahlukahlukene amathathu.
We just do first and last.
Yiphe yokuqala neyokugcina.
First Sunday law and the last one.
Sunday yokuqala neSunday yokugcina.
So if the first one had those properties, I'm suggesting that the last one will have those properties.
Uma le yokuqala inalezo zinto, kusho ukuthi nale yokugcina izophinde ibe nezinto ey'fanayo.
Okay, so hopefully I've answered that question. Or not. Yeah.
Mina ngithemba ukuthi ngiphendulile lowo mbuzo.
Okay. We've been going for over an hour.
Sesihamba isikhathi esingangehora.
So hopefully I've answered all 3 questions.
Mina ngithemba ukuthi ngiyiphendule ukuthatha imibuzo.
And because I'm going to carry on talking about this subject in the mornings, I'm not going to develop any more thoughts on that at the moment.
Ngoqhubeka sikhulume ngale sihloko ekuseni okwamanje angeke ngisaqhubeka sikhulume sisikhulise.
If anybody's got any thoughts or comments or questions.
Maye khona othile nombono umbuzo noma angakunezezela.
Russell?
It's a question. Like in 24, like someone said, don't listen to ABC, and which you have said was good for the flock.
In 2012, someone said, don't listen to that message.
2012 ukhona othile wathi wathi ngawulalela umlayezo ngoba awuyilungele umhlaba.
The last bit?
Yeah, which was good for the flock.
Yes.
And what about in 2024? Is there someone who's going to say, don't listen to ABCD, which will be also good to the flock?
So in 2024, I want to develop that in our morning class. So I'm going to we'll recap tomorrow and we'll try to move a bit forward. So hopefully your question will get answered.
Ngifisa ukuthi muphendule ekseni lo mbuzo sizokhulisa umlayezo nethemba ukuthi uzophendula ekseni.
Go ahead.
What if, like, the leader is not there, like the angel is supposed to do a job of a gatekeeper? Are the flocks allowed to do what they want, or they should stick to what the angel said before the angel probably went to sleep?
Okay, so Russell keeps on wanting to push the boundaries on this subject. And I'm going to say, let's walk through some of those points together. It's more fun. Any other questions on any subject? You have your hand up?
Thank you. I've got a comment on the question and answering of Elder Jeff.
So this is a comment or a question on...
It's a comment on that question of...
About Elder Jeff, okay?
If you are comparing and contrasting of the line of Jesus and the line of 144,000, according to his statement, he kept that someone must decrease and someone must increase. He did not recognize fully what happened between the first and the message on the time of Jesus. John doubted Jesus when he was in prison, but lastly, he recognized that Jesus is the second Jesus and repented. So maybe Elder Jeff was tempted for God, even his statement of saying one must increase and one must decrease.
And that was just a comment?
Yes.
That's fine. So just for the audio, it was a comment about comparing Elder Jeff and John the Baptist and Jesus, and the idea of one must decrease and one must increase, and John's struggles to let go of his power and hand it over to Jesus. Is that a fair summary? Is that a fair summary of what you said?
No.
It's not?
Okay.
You okay? Good.
Ukuthi naye wathi esejele wagcina engabazi uJesu Kristu ukuthi ingelosi yesibili. So engicabanga ukuthi kwenzekile namo 2012 Elder Jeff yena wagcina ekhohlwa ukuthi khona kumele aphakame yena mayehla.
We have a question. It's about the 2016 elections.
Sinombuzo mayelana nokhetho ka 2016.
Shouldn't we have understood who should have won the 2016 elections?
Bekungamele siqonde ukuthi ubani bekumele awine ukhetho ka 2016.
I think we should have.
Ngicabanga ukuthi wafanele siqonde lo.
I think we did.
Ngicabanga ukuthi futhi saqonda.
But for whatever reason, Elder Jeff got nervous
Kodwa nanoma ngasiphi isizathu umdala uJeff wagcina ephatha uqwetwe.
and he created a study or a model
Wagcina lesungula isifundo esithile
which I think was erroneous,
engicabanga ukuthi sasinamaphutha amaningi.
that showed that Clinton could also win.
Esasikhombisa ukuthi ke Hillary Clinton naye angawina.
So hopefully that answers the first part of the question.
Ngicabanga ukuthi yaphenduleka ingxenye yokuqala yombuzo.
Yeah? Whoever asked the question, did that answer that for you?
It's from someone online.
Oh, okay. William. If yes, could you give me the prophetic arguments you can think of we could have used before the 2016 election to show that Trump could have won based on what we understood, the truth we had back then?
Uma kunjalo ngiyacela ukuthi ngibonise sisebenzise isiprofeto. Okay. Uma kunjalo ngicela ukuthi sisebenzise isiprofeto esasingasebenzisa before 2016 ukubonisa ukuthi Trump wayengawina. Kwakusetshenziswa yiphi indlela kule qiniso esasinalo ngaleso sikhathi? Yiphi indlela yasetshenziswa ukubonisa ukuthi Trump?
One thing that I think we don't appreciate
Kunento ke engayithandisisi
is that when we look at old studies,
masibuka izifundo ezindala.
often they look really weak.
Mawuyibuka le izifundo zibuka ngathi ayinawo amandla.
They don't look very good.
Zibuka ngathi izinhle.
And it's easy to find mistakes or holes in their arguments.
Kulula ukubhoboza imbobo uthole futhi into engalungile ngale ifundo.
But at the time when those studies are being developed and shared,
Kodwa ngalesikhathi le ifundo lokhu ikhula bese kwabelana ngazo.
I think those studies are good.
Ngicabanga ukuthi le ifundo zazizinhle.
They're strong, if you can say it that
Zinamandla
way.
futhi.
So the study that was used in 2015
Isifundo esasetshenziswa ngo-2015
ended up taking the title of The Last President.
sagcina lesinikeza isihloko sokuthi umongameli wokugcina.
When you go back to the beginning of Daniel chapter 11,
Mawuya eqaleni ke kukaDaniel chapter 11,
and as it lists through the kings
uDaniel 11 ukhuluma ngamakhosi athize
from Medo Persia to Greece.
ukusukela Medo-Persia kuye eJavani.
The reason why that was important
Okwenza lokho ke kubaluleke
is what is the characteristic that Greece is identified as having.
ikuphi okubalula iGreece.
Greece has a characteristic that identifies it, which is different to the other kingdoms.
iGreece ke inokuthile okuvelayo ngayo okuhlukile kule minye imibuso.
Anybody remember? It rules the world.
iGreece ibusa umhlaba wonke.
Inspiration mentions that specifically. Greece rules the world.
Umoya wesiprofeto ke uyachaza lokho ngokucacile ukuthi iGreece ibusa umhlaba wonke.
Unlike Medo Persia or Babylon before it.
Okungafani ke neMedo-Persia neBabylon eze ngaphambi kweGreece.
So when we went through those kings,
Uma sibheka lawo makhosi
we get to a particular king that is Grecian,
sifika ke kumbusi othile waseJavani
ruling the world,
obusa umhlaba wonke.
worldwide Sunday law.
Isunday law yomhlaba wonke.
Then we saw some characteristics of that king,
Ukuthi sibone okuthile ngaleyo nkosi.
far richer than everyone else.
Icebe ukudlula zonke ezinye.
And at the time, I think good studies were done that identified that king with Donald Trump.
Ngaleso sikhathi kwenziwa izifundo ezinhle eziqoka leyo nkosi zifanise noDonald Trump.
So there was that aspect.
Kona lolo hlangothi.
Part of the other problem that we had
Ingxenye yale nkinga esaba nayo
is we had the leadership, FFA,
ukuthi sasinobuholi iFFA.
that was pro-Republican or pro-Democrat. Which one? Let me translate. They were for Republicans or were they for the Democrats?
Ubuholi ngabe babuhambisana nama-Democrat noma babuhambisana nama-Republicans.
They were pro-Republican.
Babehambisana nama-Republicans.
And they didn't like the ideology and the worldview of the Liberal Democrats. So when you get to that place, it becomes very difficult to stick to the rules. Your biases take over. And that was before the midnight cry message or the message of equality came. And so the membership in general didn't have an awareness of what was right or what was wrong. And so it would be very easy to side with the Republican ideology because it was very conservative or very Christian. So despite some of those obstacles, I think there was enough evidence, even in 16, to know that Trump would and should win. What year is time setting approved? When does it officially get accepted?
1840.
I mean in our dispensation. Because it's rejected in 2012.
2019, German camp meeting.
Sorry?
Can it be the German camp meeting? And I'm not sure the date, but I think it's 2019.
So Erica thinks it's 2019. 2018?
2018.
Anyone else? 2017?
2017.
So we've got various events, various dates. The event was in Italy. And Elder Jeff stood up at the end of the day and said, yep, time setting is all good. And what year was that? 2018. In the summer, just before Elder Tess is going to go to the United States and give the midnight cry message. So part of the problem is that the movement hasn't really taken on, they really haven't accepted the Sunday law message in 2015 when the elections are going to happen. From 15 to 16, as the last president message is being developed, it doesn't have supporting evidence.
2015 or 16 umlayezo lo awuthola ukwesekwa kokuphelela unamfakazi ombambekayo.
Because the movement hadn't fully accepted that 2014 was the Sunday law. Because to do so, you'd have to accept time setting. And that's got another 2 years before it's going to happen. So that's why one of the first works that Elder Tess does is to establish the 2014 Sunday law. That's one of the first things that she does.
Ingakho uDaluthele ezinye zezinto aqale ngazo ukuthi abheke iSunday Law 2014.
So if we had accepted time setting before the 2016 election,
Kube besamukela i-time setting ngaphambi kwa-2016 kokhetho 2016,
it would have given additional evidence to show that it was going to be a Republican Party, that Trump was going to be the person.
lokho kwakunika ubufakazi obuncanyana ukuthi uTrump uzobese aba umongameli weRepublican.
But everything got delayed.
Kodwa yonke into yabese yadonsela emuva.
So I hope that answered that question.
Ngithemba ukuthi lo mbuzo yaphenduleka.
I just want to talk to, we're at 1.5 hours. Do you want to stop?
Qhubeka ihora noma.
Yeah, but Pete, there are children and... Okay, well, I'll see what the question is, see if we'll answer it. Otherwise, we'll stop.
Is it a coincidence that Donald Trump was the president during the Sunday law for the priests, and he's also a president during the Sunday law for the 144,000?
So, Russell's asking a rhetorical question. Because there are no coincidences. I'm guessing that Elder Terry has kind of broached this, but I'll probably say it, and she didn't say it like this at all. That Trump is both the 5th and the 7th president. And the model of the 5th and the 7th is found in 2 places in Revelation. Do you know where? Churches and the kingdoms. 5th and the 7th kingdom and the 5th and the 7th church. So I don't think it's a coincidence, no. That's why we should have been much firmer about the issue back in the 2014 Sunday law. I think the movement was failed by its leadership. And I don't believe it's been failed now. Despite what people think. Yeah, despite what people even though people might think that. On that note, we'll close. Could I ask you to pray? Thank you.
Dear God,